The CMO Confidential podcast is a proud member of the I Hear Everything podcast network. Looking to launch or scale your podcast? I Hear Everything delivers podcast production, growth, and monetization solutions that transform your words into profit. Ready to give your brand a voice? Then visit iheareverything.com.
Welcome to CMO Confidential, the podcast that takes you inside the drama, decisions, and choices that go with being the head of marketing. Hosted by five-time CMO Mike Linton.
Welcome, marketers, advertisers, and those who love them to Chief Marketing Officer Confidential. CMO Confidential is a program that takes you inside the drama, the decisions, and the politics that go with being the head of marketing at any company in what is one of the most scrutinized jobs in the executive suite. I'm Mike Linton, the former Chief Marketing Officer of Best Buy, eBay, Farmers Insurance, and Ancestry.com, here today with my guest, Tom Stein. Today's topic, the inherent B2B marketing problem and what to do about it. Tom is the chair and chief brand officer at Stein IAS, a firm he founded nearly 40 years ago. He is a true champion of B2B marketing and marketers in general, and a member on a number of industry boards. Both he and his agency have won many awards, including the B2B Agency of the Year or by the ANA in 2023, where, for full disclosure, we met for the first time. I read the list of awards that Tom and his agency have gotten, but we've run out of time for the whole show, so let's just say a whole bunch of awards. Welcome, Tom. Thanks for joining us.
Great to be here. I've been looking forward to this one, Mike, and I'm very. I want to know that this whole confidential thing is it's very mysterious, and do I have to now share confidences, or how does?
I'd like to tell you about it, but I can't because it's confidential. So let's start. We'll jump right in. Now, Tom, why don't you, because you're in the catbird seat for the whole B2B business, give us an overview of the B2B landscape as you see it. And we've had guests say that B2B is in a trough. If you're not in AI or cyber, it's in a recession. Tell us, what do you see? What are you seeing in the industry right now?
Well, I certainly don't see that. I don't see it as being in a trough. I don't see it as being in a recession. And I think that, like all sectors, B2B is a very broad sector. You know, there are more energetic pockets than others, but you know, by and large, there's a sense of, I think, energy and momentum and opportunity in B2B, and that comes from a business standpoint, and it also comes from a marketer standpoint. So I think that it's definitely glass half full, I would say, and much more so than glass half empty. So I think the macroeconomics and all that it probably will hopefully improve a little bit more. But I think that we're poised. We're in a decent place.
But what's driving the business side of that? Is that because like the market is up and we've had a rate cut, and then what's driving the marketing component of that? So when you look at it, you say the glass is half full and maybe moving fuller. What are the driving forces you see on the business and the marketing side?
Because the marketing is so excellent, that everything is just moving.
There we go. We're going to talk about that. I know you're making that up, not confidential.
Yeah, no. So, I think that the certainly all of the traction around AI and all of the money that's there, it not only kind of adds energy to the space, but if you think about the brandscape in B2B and you think about companies that they're not open AI, but they're companies that are leveraging AI to create new business models and create new businesses and create adjunct and enhanced service lines to their own businesses. So I think that the propulsive power of AI is just beginning to be felt, and I think it will be felt more and more and more and more in different ways, and across every meaningful subsector in B2B. So I think that is that's a good thing. I think demand generally in a lot of sectors is starting to pick up. Now, I think that we went through the period from pre-COVID to post-COVID, a little bit beyond that, where there was so much momentum in the space, and pretty much every category was doing very, very well. Certainly, tech was doing very well, and then it had its kind of
Massive
hiccup
correction,
slide.
massive correction. Yeah.
A correction, but that begins to right itself as well. So every correction gets corrected. So I think that generally, a lot of the sluggishness starts to be behind us, and I think momentum starts to be in front of us. So that's I'm not a macroeconomics expert, and all of that. All I can share is what I hear, feel, see, both from my clients as well as from other folks in the space. So I think that, that's what I think.
So a rising tide is lifting the marketing boats as well in this.
Yeah,
Well, marketers a lot more to work with too.
let me just add something to that, Mike, because the whole rising tide. So the B2B's rising tide, it's been rising for a while now.
Yeah.
I'm entirely biased. I admit it. I'm entirely biased about this, but in many ways, B2B, the tide has been rising, and it may have not risen quite as much the last couple of years, but overall, it is rising. And so, think about it as a you called it a correction, a period of time, but I think B2B is going to outperform the rest of the world for any number of years. I call this the B2B decade, and I believe that we're in it now. And I think we're going to see just from end to end a new place for B2B in the world.
So the trend line is going up and to the right, and you see nothing. Right. And you see, if I'm shorthanding what you said, a ton of accelerants beneath this, not the least of which is AI, but there's more to it than that. But also, this stuff falls right into the B2B power zone. So good look forward at that. Hey, when we were talking down at the A&A event and in one of our early shows, one of our earlier guests was titled, or earlier shows was titled, "Why is B2B marketing so bad and what to do about it?" And the theme of that show was really, gosh, the B2B folks are just doing the same thing over and over again, or they're just captured with the salespeople and they're not doing marketing. Your reaction to that kind of show and that statement, what do you think?
Well, the easy answer for me would be to say that is a blanket statement that is fairly ridiculous. And so, but there is an aspect of truth to it. So, why is B2B marketing so bad? A lot of B2B marketing is pretty good. A lot of it is in fact really good. There's a lot of B2C marketing that pretty much sucks. There's a lot of marketing in lots of sectors that, the stuff that's really good is dwarfed by the stuff that's not so good. And so, I think that's a little bit of unfairness directed toward B2B. B2B has the opportunity to be a lot better. So B2B marketing has the opportunity to be a lot better. And that's the exciting part of this, Mike, is that it's come a ways. It's got a long ways to go. But it's come a ways.
Let's talk about where it is then. And if you look on it, on the kind of graph moving up into the right, where is it coming from? Where is it? And where is it going? And then we'll talk about the challenges of getting there. But I agree, it is getting definitely better. And it's a lot of the personalization stuff made for going forward. What do you see? Where do you see it in its little evolution now?
So I see a few different vectors that will help elevate B2B marketing. And so one is there's definitely a movement, that may be a bit of an overstatement, but for now, we'll call it a movement toward greater investment in brand. So in brand level marketing. So the notion that that you need to communicate with, engage with buyers who are in market at a given point in time, as well as buyers who may not be in market but will be at another point in time. So, this is the 95-5 rule that exists, and so I think that is that is being more and more acknowledged, and so. But also the dimensions of brand investment in terms of talent, in terms of employee engagement, in terms of actually the financial value. And we, with Brand Finance, did a global B2B most valuable brands index last year and this year. And what we see is that B2B enterprises, if you take the top 100 to top 150 and compare them to B2C counterparts, they're leaving $1 trillion of brand value as a component of overall enterprise value on the table. So this is getting folks' attention. So it's getting the CMO's attention, but it's also getting the CFO's attention, and it's getting the CEO and the board's attention. So if you're
Can I go back on that? How did you calculate that number? I mean, that is such a big number. And when you say leaving it on the table, what does it mean? Because we actually did a show on this, saying brands are not on the balance sheet, but should be. And Wall Street people are actually imputing them with a value. Tell us how you did this and how you got to that massive number you put out.
Well, so Brand Finance is one of the original, if not the original, brand valuation consultancies in the world. And they're accountants, they're not marketers. And they, along with others, perfected the protocols for measuring brand valuation, and measuring it as a component part of overall enterprise valuation. And this is certified by multiple bodies and so on. And and it's done by a combination of analyzing financial performance, and by surveying that's done in market around people's perceptions of companies and brands, and kind of integrating the data points. And I'm not an expert in the research underpinning for this, but Brand Finance has done this in the consumer space, Mike, for like 27 years or something like that. And together last year, we did this for the first time in B2B ever. And this year we did it for the second time ever. So, just think about that this has been a mainstay of brand valuation. Has been a mainstay in the consumer space, and it's never existed in the B2B space.
Oh, they're calculating it like Interbrand and everybody else in terms of stock price and the valuation of the brand. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. It's a combination of stock price, other financial data and metrics, and then some quantitative inputs into
and
that.
If that's right, if this is, and we want to get these guys on or these people on our show as well. So we'll ask.
I can hook you up, man.
That will be great. We'd love to be hooked up.
I can do that.
And let me, because what this would say is the brand valuation is it's pretty big. It's not captured yet in the stock price, but it's there.
It's not captured as an intangible asset yet on the balance sheet.
Correct. So
and in the cases where it is captured, the percentage of brand valuation, component part of total enterprise valuation, underperforms consumer by about 40%.
Okay, that is super interesting. We will take you up on that after the show. I want to go to so brands are on the rise in B2B.
Brands are on the rise.
B is
the momentum is the momentum behind that is not going to recede. It's going to keep going. So
Big Mo is on the B2B sideline. On our side, tell us. We talked earlier, about the inherent challenges of B2B marketing, and just talk about some of the things in the way of capturing all this brand value and using marketing to drive sales while you're on this up and to the right move?
Yeah. So the overall level of creativity, creative effectiveness needs to get better, and it needs to be better understood in B2B. I think that there's been lots of there's lots of data, there's been lots of conversation, whether it comes from IPA or whomever it comes from, around creative effectiveness and around marketing effectiveness. And it's mostly lived in a consumer context, and it has lived in the B2B context. That is starting to change. And so
Honestly, it makes no sense that it doesn't live in B2B because the purchase cycle is so long. And for me, it's not.
it makes no sense. It makes zero sense. And so that's changing. So put that in the big Mo column over here. So, but so there's a lot of people thinking about it. There are a lot of people working on it. And I think it's making a qualitative and quantitative difference now. And you just said something about the buying cycle in B2B. And that is very different than consumer. And when people say that B2B and B2C are really the same thing, I disagree with that. They're not the same thing. There are things that are similar and are the same, but they're big aspects of B2B marketing that are very different than consumer marketing. So, and one of which is the length of a buying process and the length of decision making and so on. And there's an idea. So this is our idea. So take full credit for it. But the big long idea. So an idea needs to be big. So of course it's stock and trade. An idea needs to be big. But an idea needs to be long. It needs to span a buyer journey. It needs to span all the channels. It needs to span the buyer journey stages. So the idea of that, an idea being a big, long idea is key. And I think that's being increasingly adopted in the B2B space. And also brand to demand connectivity needs to be better understood and better realized in the market. So you talk about what's holding us back. Here's a huge thing that's holding us back. This could be the hugest thing, which is in a lot of B2B companies, and there are reasons why this exists, but the fact of the matter is that brand lives here, and it has its budget, it has its team, it has its supporters and detractors. And this is in many, if not most organizations, demand is over here, and demand has its own budget, its own KPIs, all of these things. And so if you have two different organizations within an organization that are doing two different things that are not aligned, and they're both marketing to the same
customer
profile, that it all falls apart. It does not work optimally well. And we in B2B need to fix that. We really need to fix it. It's not easy, but we need to fix it.
And when I want to talk about the brand to demand connectivity, and also when you say demand, are you essentially saying the sales arm of the B2B side, or are you saying something different?
I'm saying performance marketing.
Okay.
So call it mid to bottom of funnel.
So let's like sales, performance marketing, and brand in there, and then talk to me about the connectivity, and talk to me how the marketer should be, or the company should be thinking about it differently than they are today, in your mind.
So this has been talked to death about a disconnection, lack of alignment, whatever, between the brand apparatus and the demand apparatus, and then the marketing apparatus and function and the sales function. And so, we kind of devolve quickly into the world of MQLs, and if you know MQLs, they're kind of I think they're a symptom of things being wrong.
Is that qualified leads? Is that
marketing qualified leads?
Yeah.
MQL. Yeah. And salespeople don't like them. The marketing people, sometimes it's the only thing that they can hold their hand up and say, we did that. And and so I think that the
easiest thing to measure. Yeah.
Is it? Yeah. It's, and because the structures of companies are such that they aren't designed for easy measurement or for effective measurement. It's so, the brand to demand connection, and how something that an opportunity flows from brand to demand to sales, they're often not measured, and or often not adequately measured. Put it that way.
And so if I'm parsing all your words, what you're saying is the brand is undervalued. And in many organizations, it's in a place where it is stuffed away and it's hard to get its value. And then the structure is also possibly in the way of it ever getting out from under that because there's so much focus on the easily measurable parts. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, that's correct. That's a very
Okay.
summary.
So doing my job here.
You do an excellent job.
All right.
I should have you as my spokesperson all the time.
There you go. I'm available.
You synthesize very well.
There you go.
So there's one other thing I want to add to this. So many things I want to add to this. When you and I had a chat a couple weeks ago, we were laughing about something that this all brings to mind, which is that B2B marketing, where it can fall down is the old football adage of 3 yards in a cloud, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. And so, and so it's the notion that when B2B marketing is done in the way that has long been done, and where it's very tactical in its orientation, and there are no big bets placed. There's no one's going downfield. No one's looking for a 70-yard.
Everyone's just looking at MQL and they get ways to get them.
3 yards in a cloud of dust. It's football circa 1960, and football today is like everybody passes 53 times a game, and so I think that B2B needs to catch up to those kinds of that kind of approach where there's they're understanding risk reward in marketing and doing it in a prudent way with all of the necessary validation and forethought. But I do think that's a barrier that we're all trying to push beyond. And again, I think we're making progress.
So let's talk about clients and when you're working with, I want to talk about best and worst practices of clients, because if I'm a client and all I want is 3 yards in a cloud of dust, and you want to give me the big, long idea, how do I interact with that? And how do I know if I'm a bad client? Like, I'm looking for best and worst practices for clients here, particularly in the B2B space, so they can write themselves into this story of, I actually do see big, long ideas, or I'm running a 3 yards in a cloud of dust office.
Well, I think that the clients probably know they're not good clients. They probably do. They probably know that they have dysfunction in their organization, or there's dysfunction in their broader company. There's a lack of alignment and all of that, and they won't tell the agency that until the agency gets to experience it firsthand. And so I think that, and I don't. First of all, nothing should ever be put on the marketer and not put on the agency. So this is, this has to be done together if it's going to be done right, and they have their own stuff. But I think that from the clarity, the clarity among the marketers, the clarity of what they need to do, their own seat at the table, so that they're doing that with confidence, that they know they have stakeholder support, they have the CEO support, they have the C-suite support, and they have they have not just the influence, but they have the decision-making responsibility to market as they deem best for the company. They need to have that remit. In a lot of cases, they don't have that remit, and it's a problem. It's a problem because then it can often devolve into decision-making that is dispersed, consensus-oriented decision-making, least common denominator decision-making, those kinds of things. And the best marketers in the B2B space, I'm sure it's the same in the B2C space, they have the confidence that comes from trust. They're trusted by their organization to do the right things, and they typically then do the right things. But that's not the rule.
And in addition to trust, how much of it is structure? Because a lot of times you see in B2B, particularly the marketing department, quasi as a sales support group, sometimes. How much of it is structure and how much of it is trust?
I think that a lot of it is trust. And if there's trust, people will sort out the structure. I think that the what you're really getting at is, does a B2B organization believe in marketing?
Yeah, that's right.
And so, if they don't, then it's a problem for the CMO and for the marketing organization. And it's a work in progress. That's a work in progress for sure. We see it every day. We see it literally every day.
So what percent of companies would you say in the B2B space that you see believe in marketing versus those that don't? No names, just percentages.
You can be sure I will not give you names.
There you go.
So I think the difference here, the way I would describe it, is that if marketing is considered a growth driver,
Yeah.
or if marketing is considered a sales enabler,
Or a line item, yeah.
and I think that the majority, a significant minority, are considered growth drivers.
Yeah.
So I put a number to it, say 25%. And then the rest are in a band of evolution from, really, we used to call it balloons and brochures. That was, and you make a lot of money from balloons and brochures, but, and then spanning into more sophisticated capabilities and contribution to the business. But that's another thing that is 3 yards in a cloud of dust, right? That's kind of that's the sales enabler way over here. And then, someone who's playing a contemporary offense is, with Patrick Mahomes is over here. I would use a New York Giants analogy, but it's not a good time to do that.
I totally understand. Hey, so if you could, you're talking to all the B2B CMOs listening to the show. If you could talk to all the B2B CMOs in the world, what would you tell them? Just give them advice.
One thing I would tell them that I don't think they get told enough is how freaking hard their jobs are. It's a really hard job, and there's the complexity of it, the things that one has to master at least well enough to manage well enough, the skill sets that need to be developed, the level of talent that they need to bring into their organizations, the technology that needs to be understood and adopted. And that was even before AI became a thing. Understanding the sophisticated principles of creative effectiveness, of media effectiveness, of brand to demand connectivity, data, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's a hard job. And it's particularly hard, I think, in B2B because just for all the things all the reasons we've been talking about, the B2B marketers are not necessarily as, what's the right word for this? They have a little bit more of an uphill climb, and they have a lot of internal stuff that they need to deal with and manage, and B2C does as well, of course. But so it's a hard job, and I have real empathy for.
We did a whole show on this called "Is the CMO job the hardest job in business?"
Oh, okay. I haven't listened to that one yet, but
it is. So he's gonna like this show. Tell me about, you can talk to all the B2B agencies now. Oh, go ahead.
I want to finish about the CMOs for a second, because I didn't answer your question. I didn't address your question. And what I would tell them is that so this is the ultimate easy for me to say, but if you can't build the belief in the organization in marketing, then but you should try. You should try really hard to do it. But ultimately, if you can, you should go somewhere where you can apply the power of marketing effectively, because otherwise it's just too hard and too frustrating. The other thing, then I would say, like, find the places to actually do things differently. And maybe 90% or 80% or 70%, you're doing 3 yards in a cloud of dust, but you find the 30% where you have an opportunity to prove some things out and then to scale them from there.
If I'm interviewing for a job, and I'm one of our listeners, I'm interviewing for a job and I want to go to that place where I can experiment and do something new, what questions should I ask the company and or the agency to see if they're serious about adding in, a belief in marketing?
I would talk to a few different stakeholders in a company, and I would look the CRO in the eye and talk to that individual about what role marketing currently plays and what role marketing should play in the organization. And, you'll tell pretty quickly if there's a belief there or the beginnings of a belief there, the beginnings of a partnership there. I'd have the same conversation. It'll have different context with the CFO. But I think the biggest conversation is with the CEO. And, does the CEO want to do things the way things have always been done? Does the CEO want to create a greater trajectory for the business and potentially also a legacy for himself or herself? So I would ask those kinds of questions and really press people on this, and don't let the easy answer sway you.
Well, it goes back to your, do you see marketing as a growth driver or do you see it as something else? And what I heard you say is ask questions to see how they actually are using it and then want to use it. And if growth isn't in here, if it's all about efficiency, ROI, or other stuff, they're probably not going to let you do anything that interesting.
Let me tell you a 30-second story. And it's a CMO went from one company where that individual, a very big company, and to a smaller company, considerable but smaller company, because of the vision of the CEO and the vision of the CEO in terms of what he hoped that business would become within a very fixed period of time, and his belief that without better marketing, brand to demand, without better marketing, more joined up marketing, more effective marketing, he would not be able to achieve his vision and scale the business to the extent that he needed to. That's the kind of conversation that you need to have, right? And then you have to hope it comes true on the other side. But I think that's the opportunity that you want to be looking for, and then make sure that the individual puts his money where his mouth is.
Well, thank you for that. That's a great way to wrap the show. We are now at our traditional last question. It's a two-parter. Funniest story or piece of practical advice we haven't discussed yet. You can take one or both of these, but you have to take at least one.
So is this funniest professional story? Or
you're open. It's confidential, so you can talk about anything you want.
Well, the I don't know if it's the funniest story, but it's certainly one of the more embarrassing stories. So they tend to be funny. But in my earlier years, I was a bass player. I'm still a bass player, but a bass player in bands, rock bands, I managed. We finally got the big gig, the sort of like the breakthrough gig, and I managed to fall off the stage.
Nice.
And it was definitely a memorable moment in my life. And so the advice that comes out of the other end of that is don't fall off the stage.
Well, think about all the B2B clients that have benefited from you not opening for the Rolling Stones or,
I could have been a contender, Mike.
But if you and Michael Truff of Code Theory could form a band. So thank you. I think that's a great way to end the show. Thank you, Tom, for joining us. And thanks to everyone for listening to CMO Confidential. If you're enjoying the show, please like, share, and subscribe. Look for all of our shows on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and the I Hear Everything Network, which include What Your Agency Wants to Tell You But Won't, parts 1, 2, and 3. the top 5 reasons B2B marketers get fired, why B2B marketing is so bad and what to do about it, and is artificial intelligence an extinction event for agencies? Hey, all you marketers, stay safe out there. This is Mike Clinton signing off for CMO Confidential.